Hi, you. It's me, Nicole Phoenix Star, and this is the Nick Star podcast. Last week, I had a few sound issues and how I was recording podcasts was uploading not super great. So I have changed the way I'm recording now. I have done some testing, so hopefully things will be a little bit more consistent and clearer from now on. So today I'm going to talk about something that's really important to me and will be happening in 2 more days from when I'm recording this. And it is what we call a woman's 1 day of menopause. So how that works is when we are generally sometime over 40, but it can happen earlier, we start our perimenopause phase, and that can last anywhere between like 1 year and 10 years. Everyone's different. And it's essentially the time when our hormones start becoming really quite chaotic, and we get a whole range of different symptoms. And women who continue to bleed each month find that their menstruation is quite inconsistent as well. And sometimes it will just resume to being regular and then become chaotic again. And, you know, some women may have had a hysterectomy or have an IUD or, you know, are on the pill or something like that, and they don't have natural cycles of menstruation. And so it's a little bit more difficult for them to determine exactly when this 1 day of menopause is. But for those that do, essentially it is a 1 year anniversary from your last bleed. And for me, that is coming up, like I said, in 2 days. And I'm taking myself to go and honor that, to take myself through a ceremony and for it to be another form of rite of passage, as I do with all of these incremental things in my life. And I just adore doing these things and deeply honoring all these different markers in my life. So I had a bit of a false start last year. I went 10 months without any menstruation, and I was so positive that I would get to my 12-month mark and have my 1 day of menopause. And then after that 1 day, you are classified as postmenopause. You know, this is how things are deemed at this time, kind of from a medical point of view or a science point of view, as per definition in our world. So, like I said, I went 10 months and I was quite certain that I was approaching my 1 year anniversary, and nope, that did not occur. I actually had probably the most regular menstruation at that 10-month point, you know, 5 days, lead in, lead out, no heavy, crazy bleeding. And it was quite fascinating, actually. And then 4 days later, I had a 10-day bleed that wasn't horrendously heavy, but it was more heavy than the one previous to that. And there's been times in my life where my menstruation's been very, very chaotic. And that probably started when I was around 46. And so for 4 years, it was very, very chaotic. And there was times where I would go. I remember once I went 88 days without bleeding, and it was like hilarious. And knowing these things is by tracking in an app, which is a very helpful way to observe and become intimate with your body cycles. Once I bled really, really heavy for 21 days straight, it was one of the wildest times of my life. And, I was up every 2 hours at night with a full bleed and having to deal with that. And yeah, it was exhausting and depleting. And these are very common, things that happen in perimenopause. So many symptoms that can occur, but that isn't the discussion for today. What is the discussion for today is that in 2 days' time, it will be my 1-year anniversary of no bleed and my 1 day of menopause. And the day after, I will be officially postmenopausal, where your hormones start tethering out. So what happens in perimenopause that creates this chaotic experience and all of these, symptoms that everyone experiences differently is because of predominantly, there's 3 hormones that affect everything, and that's estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And our estrogen is the magical little hormone that buffers everything. It's, what's really good at processing stress and is when it's, very, very low, we feel very, very kind of not like ourselves and not being able to process stress and things that would normally, not knock the wind out of us does. And it's very confusing when you're very capable and have a huge capacity to be experiencing, these weird sensations in your body, and your body feels like it's having an anxiety attack, and your mind's like, not really sure what's going on right now. There's nothing really wild happening that could, correlate what's happening in my body. And like I said, for most women, it's very, very confusing. And then, you kind of get a grasp on that, and then the estrogen goes back to regular levels, and you're like, oh, well, I don't know what just happened then. And yeah, it's just the body going through perimenopause, and, was the very thing that led me into educating myself on hormone balancing and being able to kind of ride those waves as best possible during this time that is very natural and happens to, most women. The pathway of perimenopause and menopause happens to all women, just in hugely varying degrees. And, some women have very, very, very little symptoms and kind of coast through it. And some women completely lose themselves and have to have quite drastic measures taken for them to be able to navigate life. So for me, it was a really wild ride. And like I said, I spent 3 years educating myself and studying this season of my life in massive, in-depth levels. And I haven't read so many textbooks, I think, ever in my life, let alone medical books and science books and health books and fitness books and all of these things. But I was just insatiable for information, because that's the type of person I am, and becoming intimate and understanding what was going on in my body. And, I certainly cracked the code and have been able to keep symptoms at a very, very, very bare minimum, as well as losing a hell of a lot of weight by accident, by default, becoming incredibly strong, and having some protocols and daily routines that support me in ways I never, ever, ever imagined. I spend 20 minutes 3 times a week lifting pretty heavy weights, and I love it. It has created a level of strength and fitness that I've never had, even in the height of me being fit as a younger person. So, yeah, it's quite the journey. I've also been very, very blessed to be able to share this with lots of women and change their lives and their journey so that they can become intimate with their unique version of this rite of passage. We, as young women, kind of shift into puberty where we're able to birth children and then have our next rite of passage of being pregnant and birthing a child, and then menopause, where we complete our birthing cycles and transition into our wise women selves. And I've learnt to completely adore this season of my life. Like, I've never been so aware of how my body functions and being able to deeply listen to what's going on and being able to meet that and address that and nourish that and nurture that and know when to ride the waves of what is. And those days, again, are coming to an end as I come out the other side. And quite often, post-menopause, can take 6 to 24 months till the hormones stop kind of going in waves or of whatever wavelength they wish. And it can certainly be a lot longer as well. Like, some women report that it's 10 years after menopause that they're still experiencing symptoms. This can be a 20-year journey. It's extraordinary, and most women stay silent and suffer in silence. So yeah, it's another page turning this week. And like I said, I've been kind of sitting with how I would do that. And I had a couple of ideas, and then I had like the vision completely drop in, as it always does. So I'm heading off to a sacred site and deeply honoring my perimenopausal journey and sitting in my day of menopause and everything that means to me, and what a pivotal point it is in the journey of a woman. And then intentionally and graciously and gratefully step into my post-menopausal season for the following day. And because I'm a householder and a solo mum, on the way home, I'll go to the supermarket and buy groceries, because that's what we do. It doesn't mean that you can't have rites and passages or deeply honor yourself in a ceremoniously way. even if you're, busy working or mothering or caring or whatevering, taking a moment, a minute, a while, or whatever, to honor these times in our life is such a potent thing to do. And it's just so kind to be self-honoring, and it's an incredible form of self-love. And then Leo's, who knows all about it, wants to go out to dinner to one of our favourite little French bistros to celebrate the completion of Mama's bleeding. And he's so aware of that and has no conditioning around any shame or contraction around it. He has been exposed to deeply honouring what is natural for all humans and has not been exposed to, shame or any labelling of what is natural in human bodies. So he said to me earlier today, have you worked out what you're doing for your finished bleeding day? And I told him. He goes, am I coming? I said, if you want to come, you may, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. And he goes, I think you should do that all by yourself, but I think we should go out for dinner in the night to celebrate together. And I said, let's do that. It sounds perfect. So I'm incredibly grateful to be able to share that with him and for him to witness life as a celebration and life as honouring. And I guess it's really normal for him. He's had all the rites of passages from birth, pre-birth actually, in every increment of his life. And sometimes I'm kind of jealous that this is his life and he got to have that. But, not jealous, just, happy for him. And to recognize that this is his normal and how it has been my normal for many, many years and will continue to be so. So, yeah, I just wanted to create a part 1, and I will record part 2 perhaps while I'm out in ceremony, after I complete, or perhaps on reflection the day after or something, but it will be available next week. So I want to take a moment to thank you for witnessing me in this journey and this really important day for me. If there's anyone you would like to share this with that you think may have some benefit or whatever, please do so. And it's fascinating because I've got two rites of passages coming up. One for a little boy who's almost becoming 2, and for a young girl who's becoming 13 and taking them through their rites of passages. Actually, I have 3. I also have a mama who is stepping into pregnancy and taking through her through a rite of passage for as well. Yeah, right. So it's a bit of a rite of passage season going on right now. Anyway, if that may be something you're interested in, you can contact me through my website, www.nikstarr.com, nickstar.com. I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I love you. Bye.